Welcome back to the Exam Room Podcast, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. I'm so excited. You know, we've got the Winter Olympics coming up, and we have our very own Olympian joining us now, Meagan Duhamel. She is a Canadian pairs ice dancer. How are you, Meagan?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenally well. And before we get going, I need to compliment you on the name of your website. I think that this is the most clever thing of all time. lutzofgreens.com. That is just phenomenal.
I can't take credit for it. It was actually a play on words that my husband thought of, but I was trying to be creative with the plant-based and nutrition world that I'm so passionate about and the figure skating world. And I'm not sure how my husband came up with the play on Lutz of Greens, but I think it was brilliant. And I mean, of course, the website hadn't been taken because who else would have thought of a name
Right.
like that? And it's something that website I'd really like to invest more time into when my skating career is over after the Olympic Games.
Well, it seems like you've got some pretty good content up there now. I know that you throw a lot of recipes up there, and I saw a blog up there about your recent one of your recent skating events. So, you know, I don't know how much more time you want to put up there, but it seems to me as a web guy, you've got some pretty fresh content.
I try at least every week to add something to it. But of course, when I'm on the road and I'm traveling, it's a little bit hard. And I tried to keep a combination of recipes with wellness tips, with fitness tips, and my figure skating story and events and journey, because I know that there's a lot of fans amongst the figure skating world that are interested in the inside works of what goes on.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that journey, the journey of actually going vegan. From what I was reading, like you kind of had this awakening. Your eyes just kind of opened one day. Talk to me about what brought you to this decision to switch to a plant-based diet.
You know, it's something that I never would have considered. And to be honest, I'd never even heard of the word vegan before. I was passing an airport and I saw a very small book called Skinny Bitch, and it seemed funny and clever, and I was like, oh, I wonder what this is about. So I just kind of picked it up as I left the airport. I went home that night and I read all of it. It's not very big. I read it all that night, and when I woke up the next morning, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this. I emptied out my fridge completely, threw everything away. And then as I was making my coffee, I was like, oh no, what am I going to put in my coffee? Dairy alternatives. And I kind of dove in head first. That's kind of how I guess I live my life. I go all in, all or nothing.
Hmm.
And I started doing some research. And then eventually I started studying nutrition. And it's just become such a passion of mine and an amazing lifestyle that I'm so proud to have committed to.
Now, I actually read before you made that change that the nutritionist for the Canadian national team was advising you to eat just a bounty of meat and to cheese. And so now you've been enlightened, you've studied this nutrition. Have you had a conversation with them yet?
Not with this person in particular that I worked with before, but I do have conversations sometimes with some of the nutritionists. I don't personally work with one because now that I've studied nutrition and I feel like I know quite a lot about food and what to put into my body, that and I'm forever learning. I'm constantly learning more.
Yeah.
But I do try to educate people at every chance I can without kind of like enforcing something on somebody else. I feel like everybody needs to become a little bit more open-minded, just as I did, because I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And actually tomorrow is going to be 9 years that I've been vegan. And, it had its ups and downs, and I wouldn't go back.
Well, happy vegan birthday.
Thank you. I try to celebrate every year with some vegan chocolate cake or something.
There you go. There you go. Blow out the candle, make a wish. Now, you are you're training for the Olympics now. I know you're in the middle of the Grand Prix season, but your eye is on South Korea, correct?
Yes, I will be going to the Olympics in February with my skating partner, Eric Radford. It'll be our second Olympics and our last Olympics, so we're hoping to put out our very best performances and to get on the podium.
Oh, your final Olympics already? I mean, well, you don't want to look at what would that be, 2022?
I'd love to look at it maybe from a different angle, you know, a different position that I'll be in. I'm turning 32 soon, and my partner and I have been able to already win an Olympic silver medal, win 6 national titles and 2 world titles. And I feel like I've achieved everything I ever dreamt of. And the only thing missing is the ultimate perfect skate at the Olympics because we didn't have that the last time. And I don't think I'm going to have to keep going for 4 years because I plan to do it this February.
There you go. Fingers crossed for you. I think that you'll do it.
Thank you.
So let me ask you this. I'm sure that you're aware of this. There's been some criticism by, non-plant-based diet people that once an athlete switches to a vegan diet, their performance starts to decline. Clearly with you, that hasn't really been the case. Where do you think that disconnect is? Where do you think that myth started?
Well, first of all, I think that there's a preconceived notion about the amount of protein that athletes need. And I think that people are actually eating too much. Athletes themselves are eating too much protein and not balancing it properly with carbs and fats and the right whole foods diet. And I think it really comes down to people that they're not open-minded. They haven't experienced this yet. And the plant-based diet in terms of the sporting world and athletes, it's really just beginning. It's just starting to blossom, and more athletes are thriving under this diet. So I think that there's going to be more interest and more research put into what it does to help the athlete's performance and recovery. But for myself, I started to thrive when I became a vegan. My performance accelerated, and I feel like that I have to give so much credit to my skating career, and the results I've achieved is to how I feel my body, because that's just as important. What I fuel my body with every day is just as important as the training I'm doing on the ice or in the gym.
Give me an idea of what it is that you eat during the day. Do you keep to a pretty specific routine, same thing day in, day out? Is there a lot of variety?
I do. I guess you could say I have a pretty similar diet all the time, not by choice. I think more by convenience. Every single morning, I usually have overnight oats or a big green smoothie or a smoothie bowl with some granola. And that can fuel me for at least 2 hours of training. In between training sessions, I like to snack on trail mix, bananas, apples and almond butter,
Yes.
granola bars, and snacks like that. I don't tend to eat such a big lunch. I tend to snack throughout the day in between each of my training sessions. And I'll have an early dinner that my dinners, they vary quite a lot. I find it's very easy to make a quinoa salad, throw in a couple of vegetables, make a quinoa salad. Sometimes I'll do a stir fry. Sometimes I make a big pot of lasagna or a big casserole, a chickpea-based casserole that I can kind of eat all week long.
Yeah.
And I don't need to worry about preparing it. So that's kind of the gist of it. I do have a sweet tooth. I tend to eat a dessert every single day. People might be surprised to hear that. I love cookies or cupcakes and cake, and I have a pretty strong willpower that I can eat like half a cupcake and just leave the other half until the next day.
Now that is truly impressive.
And I'll finish it the next day. And so my desserts, they stay well in my kitchen.
Do you find it a struggle? It doesn't sound like you do, to keep your calories up. I know in speaking to like NFL players, especially offensive linemen, the real big guys, they try going vegan, but they can't really keep that diet because they just can't keep the weight on. So, how many calories are you typically burning in a day when you're training, and how many are you taking in?
I'm probably burning around 2,000 calories and maybe taking in 2,500 calories. I don't really count my calories. I tend to eat almost consistently all day long, but I'm not really paying attention to the amount of calories I'm eating. I'm eating when my body is telling me that I need to fuel myself for a training session, and that I need to fuel myself after a training session for my recovery. I have a lot of beet powder water to have in the mornings before I train. I feel like that really helps deliver some oxygen to my muscles while I'm training. And I really just try to listen to my body. And I'm in a sport that I want to stay as small as possible in the most healthy way possible.
Right.
In a performance sport like figure skating, I have somebody lifting me. He needs me in the best shape that I can be in. So for myself, I don't really, I'm trying not to be like big and strong and put on mass.
Right.
So that's a little bit different with a sport like figure skating compared to football.
Now, your partner Eric is he vegan?
No, he's not.
Oh,
He likes a lot of vegan food. I guess he hasn't thought about making a commitment to a vegan or vegetarian diet.
oh. Well, maybe
Maybe.
someday.
Yeah.
Um, so this will be your second Olympics. What were the vegan options like over in Sochi? I believe that's where the last Winter Games were held. Were there any vegan options there?
Oh, I was hungry in Sochi, let me tell you. That was a long time to be eating at a cafeteria that served 24-hour McDonald's
Mm.
because McDonald's is a sponsor of the Olympics.
Wait, to the athletes, that's what they were serving?
Well, we had a cafeteria with various food stations and a full McDonald's restaurant that was free for the athletes to eat at. And you'd be surprised the number of athletes that the day of their competition were choosing to eat McDonald's.
Curlers, right?
Yeah. Maybe the ones that didn't succeed so much. I know a lot of athletes, after they finished competing, were treating themselves to McDonald's as well. I had a hard time in Sochi. I had a bit of a miscommunication with the nutritionist about what food would be available as I was trying to prepare my own food to bring with me. And I was actually told that they would have a dairy-free yogurt. So I prepared many mason jars of homemade granola. I mixed up my own granola. I made it. And I was like, this is perfect. I'm going to have my dairy-free yogurt and granola every single morning. And I arrived and there was no dairy-free yogurt. So what I ended up doing was taking cold tofu and mashing it up to be in a yogurt-like consistency. And I ate that with granola almost every single morning. They did have a lentil stew, and I ate that for dinner almost every night for 3 weeks. And it was good with some chapati for the first few days, but after 3 weeks, I was ready for a little bit of variety.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I'm hoping that this year in Korea, the menu is going to be a little bit more creative. I think that there are now athletes that follow such particular diets that maybe they're going to have more variety in the village. And also, I'm going to show up more prepared, and I've already talked with the Team Canada nutritionists about grocery stores within the area and what they can do to help me.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you were going to be proactive about that and sending your own dairy-free yogurt this go around, or what your battle plan was.
You know what? I did just send 4 boxes of food that's being shipped over to Korea, so it's going on a big crate. I put as much stuff as I could think of in those boxes for now, and I'm still going to have to go over my list. The Canadian Team Canada's nutritionist has told me that there's a very big grocery store with a lot of organic selections not far from Pyeongchang. So I'm hoping that they're going to help me get to the grocery store, or at least have me prepare lists for them to pick up when they take their trip.
What's in the crate? I got to ask. I mean, that's a mystery. You're sending 4 boxes of stuff. What's in there?
You know, I sent some protein bars and some containers of beetroot powder. I sent some squeezy oatmeal packs from a company called Monk Pack, which I love. They have quinoa oatmeal squeezy packs that are perfect for when you travel. So I sent some boxes of those. I sent some trail mixes, some dried fruits, some dried apricots, raisins, some cereal, some crackers, rice cakes, buckwheat rice cakes with almond butter. You know, I like so many miscellaneous things, everything I could think of that might get squished in my own suitcase, I put in those boxes.
There you go. There you go. You know what? Here's a wild idea. I know you're going to be busy, but I want you to be our vegan correspondent at Pyongyang. I need to know what the village is serving, what the vegans are doing, and frankly, how you're doing. How did the food hold up in those 4 boxes? Is that something you think you'd be interested in doing?
Yes, of course. And maybe when I'm finding a grocery store in the area, I can document what I'm finding there and what I'm bringing back to the village.
How great would that be? That would be phenomenal. I'm just curious, about the organic selection. I would imagine that they're going to have produce that we don't have over here.
Probably they will. The problem in Sochi was there wasn't really a big supermarket or grocery store anywhere near Sochi. Like we were really in the middle of nowhere. And Pyeongchang is still in the outskirts and kind of in the middle of nowhere, but I've been assured that the grocery store has great selection. They're also arranging a hot plate and a blender to be put in my room for when I arrive, and a mini fridge and freezer. So I'm planning to be well taken care of, and I'm interested because I didn't actually meet any other athletes on the coast where figure skating is at the Olympics that were also vegans. So I'm interested this time if there'll be more of us.
Oh, that's awesome. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. I assume your husband is traveling with you, correct?
Yes, and my husband is actually my skating coach.
Aha. Well, there you go.
He'll be traveling with me and hopefully helping me find things if I need to go out and about to find good food.
Is he vegan as well?
He's not vegan, but he has definitely changed his diet since we've been living together. He no longer has dairy, and he no longer eats meat in the house. If he's at a restaurant or at his parents', he will, but in the house, he'll have fish. And the rest of the food, he doesn't eat cheese, doesn't have dairy. So he's changed his diet quite a lot. I haven't got him all the way to my team yet, but right. He's making very good choices.
That's awesome. Most people get banished from the house if they're a smoker. They can't smoke inside the house, but he can't eat meat in the house. I love it.
Well, a few years ago, I did actually, I'm usually the one going out to get our groceries. And a few years ago, I told him, I said, you know what, I can no longer buy you your fish, your meat, or your cheese. I said, I can't go to the cash with this anymore.
That's amazing. How did he react to that? I'm just curious.
He was like, oh, okay. Like, I understand. And I told him, like, it's not even about me, like, paying for it. I can't support that I'm the one bringing this into the house. That goes against what I believe is right. It goes against my morals. And if you need to have some meat or some fish or some cheese at the time he was still eating cheese, I said, you can go out and buy it yourself and bring it into the house yourself. And felt like I needed to put my foot down on that one.
Yeah, way to take a stand. Now, I assume that you are pretty much the chef at the house, correct?
I am, but I don't have time to cook as much as I want. My husband does. He tries to make some vegan food for me sometimes, and he's been able to make some fried chicken out of seitan. And that's like his prize dish that he can make, and he makes it really well. It just takes a long time to make seitan. It takes a couple of hours.
Yeah, it does. But it's worth it
because of all the gluten.
Yeah, it's worth it though.
Yeah.
So vegans, by and large, we get very creative in the kitchen. I think it's by necessity. Just talking about 2 hours. And you have a ton of recipes on your blog, lutzofgreens.com. So my question to you, Meagan, is this. Definitely putting you on your spot. What is your favorite that you've posted up there?
My favorite dish I've posted is a chickpea casserole that has some carrots and some broccoli, breadcrumbs, and it's topped with some Daiya cheese. I make this every few weeks. It's kind of like my go-to dish. It doesn't take very long. And it can sit in the fridge for a few days. It's one of my favorites because I've served it to a lot of non-vegan or vegetarians, and they've really liked it. So that's always my answer to my experiments is if somebody who doesn't eat a plant-based diet likes what I've made, then I know that it's probably a hit. Yeah.
And we're going to link off to that on our website, pcrm.org/podcast. Frankly, I think that I'm going to give that a whirl this weekend.
It's really good. I think that you should give it a try. And also I have on there a quinoa breakfast parfait with chocolate and peanut butter in it. And that's a real good one as well.
Ooh, my wife will do flips over that one. Let's change gears here real quick before we wrap up. I know that you were just telling me about some involvement that you have freeing dogs in Korea. There's just some really horrific situations going over there, and you're working with an organization to help rescue them to safety, correct?
Yes, I am. This was something that I felt like I needed to do as I've been traveling to Korea quite a bit in preparation for the Olympics that are coming this February. And so I started doing a little bit of research with the International Humane Society, who then put me in contact with a company called Free Korean Dogs. And It's not as well known over in North America, but in Korea they do farm dogs and eat them as a source of protein. It's quite horrific. They also boil them to make soup.
Mm,
They believe that this makes men big and strong.
mm,
And you know, it goes against everything that I believe is right for any animal. And
sure.
I felt like I needed to do something to help this group. They're looking for flight volunteers to bring dogs back to North America from Korea. It costs nothing but your time, maybe an hour before your flight and an hour after your flight. That's it. And I was originally going to be a flight volunteer. And the more I thought about it, I thought, why don't I just keep this dog myself? This is so amazing. And it's going to be my memory from Korea.
Yeah.
The dog I adopted had actually been at a rescue at a Buddhist temple, living with a Buddha. And I thought maybe this dog's going to have some special spiritual energy to bring into my home. And I'm so happy I did it. My mom and dad have now rescued a dog from Free Korean Dogs. And when I come back from the Olympics, I'll be bringing back more dogs, and I might decide to keep another one.
What's your dog's name?
His name is Mute. Uh, and at the time, we thought this might be some beautiful philosophical Korean meaning. But I was told by a Korean that Mute means not big. And he's a he's a dash hound mixed with a corgi, mixed with a chihuahua. So he's just a tiny little thing.
Mute. Free
Yeah.
Korean dogs. I love it. That's amazing. You know, I would think that bringing home a dog safely, that's going to be better than any medal that you'd be coming home with.
That it was an unbelievable feeling when I did it the last time, and that I will do it again. And I hope that more athletes are going to do it and going to be interested in rescuing a dog like that.
Awesome. Meagan Duhamel, you are just a vegan delight. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
And good luck at the games.
Thank you.